She won't remember every word you said, but she will remember exactly how you made her feel the moment you touched her. Not in the way most men think, not rushed. Not forced. Not driven by impulse, but intentional, calm, emotionally aligned. Because when it comes to a mature woman, touch is not about physical attraction alone. It's communication, it's presence, it's emotional intelligence expressed without words. And if you don't understand this, every touch you give will feel empty, even if your intentions are right. A mature woman has already experienced attention. She's already felt charm, compliments, even desire from men who thought that was enough. So what separates you isn't that you touch her, it's how you make that touch feel. The first kind of touch most men completely misunderstand is the grounded greeting. When you first see her, that initial moment matters more than you think. Most men either go too casual, or too or too eager. A quick, disconnected gesture that feels forgettable, or an overextended embrace that feels like they're trying to create something that hasn't been earned yet. But a grounded greeting is different. It's calm, it's present, it's intentional without being overwhelming. When you place your hand gently on her arm or her shoulder for just a brief moment as you greet her, you're not trying to impress her. You're signaling something deeper. I'm here. I'm present. I'm not rushing this. And she feels that. Because a mature woman pays attention to energy before action. She notices whether your touch feels centered or inabaldi or whether it feels like it's coming from a place of need. If there's even a hint of uncertainty or urgency, she picks up on it instantly. And that changes how she experiences you. Now here's the second kind of touch that most men overlook, the reassuring touch. Not when things are perfect, but when there's a slight moment of tension, hesitation, or vulnerability in the conversation. Maybe she shares something personal. Maybe there's a pause. Maybe her energy softens for a moment. This is where inexperienced men either freeze, or try to fix it with words. But experienced men understand something deeper. Sometimes the most powerful response is quiet presence. A gentle touch on her hand, a brief, steady connection that says, you're safe here. You don't have to rush past this moment. And here's the key. It's not about holding on. It's about knowing when to let go. Because holding too long creates pressure. It shifts the moment from connection to expectation. And a mature woman doesn't want to feel like every emotional moment has to lead somewhere. She wants to feel understood without being pulled. That's where trust begins. Now let's go deeper, because this is where most men get it completely wrong. Touch is not about escalation. It's about timing. You don't move forward because you want to. You move forward because the moment allows it, and that requires awareness. You have to feel her energy, not just focus on your intention. Is she relaxed or slightly guarded? Is she leaning in or maintaining distance? Is she present or distracted? These subtle cues matter more than any technique. Because when your touch matches her emotional state, it feels natural. But when it ignores her emotional state, it feels intrusive. And once a touch feels intrusive, it's very difficult to recover from that. This is why so many men confuse attraction with permission. Just because she's enjoying your company doesn't mean she's ready for deeper physical connection. And pushing that boundary too early doesn't create attraction. It breaks it. A mature woman doesn't fall for a man who moves fast. She falls for a man who moves with awareness. A man who doesn't need to rush because he's not trying to take something. He's allowing something to build. And that patience, that control, that emotional intelligence, that's what makes a touch unforgettable. Not because of where it happens, but because of how it feels. Safe, calm, real. And once she feels that from you, she doesn't pull away. She starts to lean in without even realizing it. She doesn't respond to how often you touch her. She responds to whether your touch feels earned or skarnsao. Matur kale and nalchur osai, anarcha sansao, matur osur, rand or expected. And this is where most men quietly lose her without realizing it. Because they assume that once there's a little comfort, a little laughter, a little connection, they have permission to move closer, to extend the touch, to make it more frequent, more familiar. But a mature woman doesn't measure connection by frequency. She measures it by depth. And when your touch starts to feel like something you're doing out of habit instead of awareness, it loses its impact. This is where the third kind of touch becomes powerful. The guiding touch, not controlling, not leading her physically in a dominant way, but but subtly directing shared moments. For example, when you're walking together and you gently place your hand near the middle of her back to guide her through a doorway or across a crowded space. It's brief, it's natural, it's not lingering, but it communicates something deeper. I'm aware of you, I'm present with you. Ythar Sarcher einer so Raulein. There's no pressure in it, no hidden intention, and that's exactly why it works. Because it doesn't feel like you're trying to get something from her. It feels like you're including her in your awareness. Now here's where men often cross the line without realizing it. They turn a natural moment into an extended one. They hold a second too long. They repeat it too frequently. They try to build on it too quickly. And suddenly, something that felt effortless starts to feel intentional in the wrong way. A mature woman notices that shift instantly, not because she's analyzing you, but because her body responds to it. She goes from relaxed to slightly aware, from open to just a bit guarded. And that small shift is enough to change the entire dynamic. This brings us to the fourth kind of touch, the playful touch. This is where lightness comes in. Where connection feels easy, unforced, even a little unpredictable. Maybe it's a brief tap when she teases you. Maybe it's a gentle nudge during a shared laugh. It's not about creating intimacy. It's about creating comfort. Because attraction doesn't grow in seriousness alone. It needs space to breathe, and playful touch introduces that space. But here's the mistake most men make. They try to manufacture playfulness. They force it. They exaggerate it. They use it as a strategy instead of letting it happen naturally. And the moment it feels rehearsed, it stops being attractive. A mature woman doesn't respond to techniques. She responds to authenticity. If your playfulness comes from genuine enjoyment of the moment, it feels effortless. But if it comes from a place of trying to create chemistry, a fear not and saccharine, it feels off. And she pulls back slightly, even if she doesn't show it. Now let's talk about something deeper. Every touch you initiate is either building trust, or testing it. There's no neutral ground. If your touch feels aligned with the moment, trust increases. If it feels slightly out of place, trust decreases. And the dangerous part is this. You won't always see the reaction immediately. She may still smile, still engage, or still stay present. But internally, something shifts. And those small internal shifts add up until one day, the connection doesn't feel the same anymore. And you won't know exactly why. This is why experienced men don't focus on how many touches. They focus on how it feels. They understand that less, done right, is far more powerful than more, done carelessly. Because when a touch is timed perfectly, when it matches the emotional rhythm of the moment, it lingers, not physically, but emotionally. She remembers it. And not as something you did, but as something she felt. And that feeling is what draws her closer, not instantly, but gradually, naturally, without pressure. And that's the difference between a man who creates attraction and and a man who unknowingly pushes it away. She doesn't fall for the touch itself. She falls for the meaning she feels behind it. And that's where everything either deepens or quietly breaks. Because by now, she's not just noticing if you touch her. She's interpreting why. Not logically, not with words, but emotionally. Her body reads intention faster than your mind can explain it. This is where the fifth kind of touch becomes dangerous if you don't understand it. The lingering touch, this is the moment most men rush toward and ruin. It's when your hand stays just a little longer than necessary. When there's a pause, a subtle stillness, a moment where the air changes between you. Done right, this creates depth. It slows time. It allows her to feel something beyond surface interaction. Done wrong, it creates pressure, and the difference is razor thin. If your lingering comes from calm certainty, no rush, no expectation, it feels grounded. It feels like you're fully present, not trying to escalate, just allowing the moment to exist. But if it comes from desire mixed with uncertainty, she feels that too. And instead of leaning in, she becomes aware of you, aware of the touch, aware that something is being pushed. And the moment she becomes aware in that way, the feeling disappears. That's the shift. Attraction exists when she's in the moment. It fades when she steps outside of it to analyze. Now here's the sixth kind of touch, the supportive touch. This one has nothing to do with attraction on the surface and everything to do with it underneath. It shows up when she's slightly off, not dramatic, not emotional in an obvious way, just quieter, a little withdrawn, a subtle shift most men ignore. But experienced men notice it. And instead of asking too many questions or trying to fix her mood, they stay present. A gentle touch on her arm. A brief connection that says, I see you, without needing you to explain. There. And then they let it go. No pressure to open up. No expectation of a response. This kind of touch builds something deeper than attraction. It builds emotional safety. And a mature woman values that more than anything else. Because she's not looking for constant excitement. She's looking for someone who can handle stillness without making it uncomfortable. Someone who doesn't panic when energy shifts. Someone who doesn't need her to always be on. And when she feels that from you, something changes. She starts to trust your presence, not because of what you say, but because of how you show up when there's nothing to gain. Now here's the final layer that most men never reach. Touch is not about creating moments. It's about holding them. Most men rush through connection. They touch, then move on. They create a spark, then try to build on it immediately. They don't allow the moment to settle. But a mature woman, she feels in layers. She needs space to process what just happened, to sit in it, to feel it fully. And when you give her that space, when you don't interrupt the emotional rhythm, you create depth without effort. Because now she's not reacting to you. She's experiencing you. And that experience stays with her long after the moment passes. This is why less is more. Not because you're holding back, but because you're allowing her to feel, allowing the connection to breathe, allowing the moment to complete itself without interference. And here's the truth that separates experienced men from everyone else. They don't touch to get closer. They touch because they're already present. There's no hidden goal, no silent expectation, no need to make something happen. And that's exactly why something does happen, because she feels it, not as an action, but as a state, a calm, grounded, emotionally aware presence expressed through something as simple as a touch. And once she feels that consistently, she doesn't question it. She starts to lean into it, slowly, naturally, without resistance, because now it feels real. At some point, she stops noticing your touch and starts waiting for it. Not because she needs it, but because of how it makes her feel when it's real. And that's when you know something has shifted. Because now it's no longer about physical contact. It's about emotional connection that your presence carries, even in the smallest, quietest moments. This is where the seventh touch reveals itself. And it's the one almost no man understands. The intentional absence of touch. Yes, absence. Because when every touch you've given before has been calm, grounded, and aligned, your restraint becomes just as powerful as your action. When you don't touch her in a moment where you easily could have, she feels it. Not as rejection, but as awareness. She starts to notice the space between you. She becomes conscious of the tension, the anticipation, the unspoken connection that hasn't been forced. And that tension, when it's natural, is magnetic. Because now she's not reacting to what you're doing. She's responding to what she's feeling. And what she's feeling is curiosity. This is where attraction deepens in a way that can't be faked. Because you're no longer trying to create moments. You're allowing them to build on their own. And that changes everything. Most men never reach this point because they're too focused on doing more touch. More effort, more attempts to move things forward. And I just thought but experienced men understand something different. They understand rhythm. They know when to step in and when to step back. They know that connection isn't a straight line. It's a flow, sometimes closer, sometimes slightly distant, and both are necessary. Because without space, there's no tension. And without tension, there's no depth. Now here's where it all comes together. Every touch you've given up to this point, every grounded greeting, every reassuring moment, every playful connection, every supportive gesture has been building something invisible. Trust, comfort, emotional safety. And when those are in place, attraction doesn't need to be forced. It expands naturally. A mature woman doesn't fall in love because of one moment. She falls because of a pattern of consistency, a pattern of awareness, a pattern of presence that never feels rushed or demanding. And your touch becomes a language she understands without words, a language that says, you don't have to be anything other than who you are. There's no pressure here. I'm not trying to take from this moment. I'm here to experience it. And when she feels that over time, she doesn't resist it. She trusts it. She leans into it, not because you pulled her closer, but because she feels safe moving closer on her own. That's the difference. Now let me leave you with something personal, because this isn't about memorizing 7 types of touch. It's about understanding the state behind them. So ask yourself this honestly. When you're with her, are you trying to create a result? Or are you fully present in the moment you're sharing? Because your answer to that question is what she feels. And here's your equation. Attraction through touch, mancha's presence, plus timing. Just pressure. Simple to understand. Difficult to embody. In the comments, I want you to be real with yourself. Have you been adding pressure or allowing presence? If this shifted how you see connection even slightly, don't keep it to yourself. Like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who's been trying to force what can only grow naturally. Because once you understand this, you stop chasing moments and start creating something she never wants to walk away from.